Continue, please.
Okay. I was mentioning about how
Being
much,
on a level 4 yard
yeah,
and possibly having post-traumatic distress.
yes, stuck on a stressful mode. Didn't know if I was going to be stabbed, attacked, and as a nonviolent offender, I should have never been placed in a violent situation. These people are the people I was surrounding. They were murderers, hardcore gang members, and I was only in for a credit card rejection. And being around that type of environment with these type of individuals was stressful to me because I felt that I was placed into the lion's den and I was just a puppy because I never had any violence or anything in my history. I wasn't a part of any gangs. I was just in for a piece of plastic credit card and I was struck out and given 25 to life. Um,
Let me ask you a question. Can you tell us some of the things you've seen and experienced being on these level 4 yards?
One incident, I was sitting down at the chow hall eating dinner and I saw another individual come up, grab another guy by the hair, pulled his neck back and slit his throat open. And he sat there gushing out. He didn't die, but he had a mark from almost ear to ear. Slit him open. Stuff like that messed me up because I would wake up at night thinking, wow, something I'm gonna be attacked. And it was very stressful to me and it changed my way of thinking and seeing things. You know, like I said before, nobody knows what prison does to a mind. What actually goes on in a person's thinking process in their individual daily existence, knowing what they know about life, how they understood it growing up, until being put and placed into like a human warehouse, a cell, and being subjected to harsh, humiliating type of situations. Being told to when to shower, when to eat, that's humiliating. I didn't feel in my thinking process that I could thrive in this type of environment. There was nothing for me to learn, to grow, to get better. But I still fought. I still believed in myself, and I still kept going, and I still did the right thing. I the little opportunity they do have in here to change your life is there. And in the midst of being around all this foul, crazy living and people, I still sought the light, and I still believed in myself enough to want to change. And I went to groups or whatever. I've even sat in the chapels at times for hours just to get away from things. And in the house of God, I sat there and I prayed. And somehow I was given a second chance at life. Life to me was very important, and God blessed me with a second chance at life, and I got out. I'm back because I made a mistake. I mishap. They don't tell you what happens when mishaps happens.
Well, can you tell
I
me
couldn't
about
obey.
that second chance? How did you get out from serving that life sentence besides the laws changing?
How did I get out? I was told you're being released, and I didn't believe it. And I had them check again because I was under a life sentence, and when they tell you go to R&R, you're being released. I that's where receiving and release. That's where you get out. I didn't believe it. So they checked and they called again and said, in this whole institution, you're the only Rhodes. So there's no other Rhodes paroling today, and they got you being released. So I went to R&R, and they said, you're the guy, and they held the picture up. And they let me out after 18 and a half years, and my thinking, I was still doing a life. I gave up after 10 years. I didn't even think of society no more. So it was really emotional, and there was a lot of anxiety. And when they just kicked me out to the streets, I didn't have address. I lost a lot of family ties, and it um, it was very hard for me to adjust back. There was an incident where I got arrested at Walmart. I never even been in a Walmart, but I walked in and I started looking at the technology, the flat screen TVs and things like that, and I had an anxiety attack. And I remember them talking to me, and I could see them, I can hear them talking to me, but I didn't respond because I was having some type of an emotional reaction to the technology around me. So in a way, it did damage me being in here under that type of sentence. It did damage me.
And how did this affect your family?
It was hard for me to see the little ones, my nephews and nieces, all grown up. My sister, real elderly and sick. Something happened.
Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
Okay, and it was very hard to know that my mom was put in a convalescent home somewhere, and she was up somewhere in Modesto, and I felt that there was a big void in my. I still was missing something in my life. Uh, Not having a father figure, not really having somebody to love and somebody to care for me personally. There was still an emptiness. I was free, but I wasn't free. I was out in society, but I was in a different society that I didn't understand. I'd been away for a while. So I still, in my mind, was in prison, in a sense. And then as time went on, I got a job, I met somebody, and I connected. I latched onto this person because she cared, and she took a lot of time to really, and that's what helped me come out of my, I don't know how to say, my...
Being institutionalized?
Yeah, being institutionalized. That really pulled me away from the grips of these prisons and what it done to me personally in my mind. And love is the strongest of emotions the Bible teaches us, but love also has another power. And it kind of healed me to know that somebody loved me and I loved them back the same. Love is powerful and love is good.
So let me ask you, in what year was it were you released from your life sentence?
I was in Corcoran State Prison. I was taken to the train station. I was released and I came out in the paper as Proposition 36 released only 261 out of 7,600 inmates. It was just a low percentage that got out because of the criteria. You couldn't have had no sexual violence in the past. You couldn't have picked up no violence in jail. No Division A1, A2 offenses, no shoot terms, no DA referrals, none of that. I kept clean, and I matured myself and educated myself, and I did what was right. I met all three criteria. It was so narrow, the criteria to get out. Only 261 inmates, and we came out in Corcoran paper as inmate, the first wave of inmates released under California's three-strike law, the Proposition 36. So.
And what year was this?
I was 2013, March of 2013.
And were there any programs in place to help you when you got out?
Nothing. They didn't offer me no program. They didn't tell me about it. They just said one day you're being released. So there was no pre-release. There was no transition class. There was nothing to adjust me back to society. I didn't even have a proper identification card. They just told me you're being released, and they discharged me and let me out on a train station. And I never even been on a train.
And did they give you gate money?
They gave me a check. A check that I had to go to a bank with no ID and had them call a police officer. A police officer came down in a bank, and I guess they did some kind of check or something, and they realized that, okay, this man was released. He don't have no California ID or nothing, so they actually allowed me to cash this little small $200 check. Oh, it's actually less than that, but they had to pay for my ticket. So the state gave me a $136 check.
After doing 18 years in prison.
18 years. So there was a lot of blocks. There was a lot of things that they should have changed and now have changed. But back then, was issued a check, no cash. I wasn't issued an ID, and I was just kicked out without no preparation or anything. And I survived.
And how long were you out?
3.5 years.
And while you were out, were you able to reconnect with any family?
Yes. A Christian man helped me get in contact with my sister through Facebook, and she gave the number, and he called her the same hour he contacted her and said, your brother's standing in front of me, and would you like to talk to him? She says, what? She got emotional. She was like, I can't believe it. He's in prison doing life. And I was standing right there in front of a free man, and they didn't even know I was free. And I started talking to her on the phone, and he drove me out to Madera to see her. Rest in peace. She's dead now, but she's in a better place. Her name was Alberta.
Can you can you tell us what you want people to know about being incarcerated?
Being incarcerated is a humiliating state of being. If you want to be told what to do, when to do it, and always constantly controlled, it breaks your spirit. It stops a person from really wanting to care about themselves. Prison has a way of melting down a person's emotions and making them hard as concrete, and their thinking. And through that process, you stop living. When you lose hope, death is the only thing in sight. Prison has a way of just shutting all these things down in a person and stopping them from living and thriving. Unless you find that light and you find a higher power, you find a creative thing to do, time is what you make it. I don't know how I survived. I don't know how I made it through. I wasn't hurt, and I made it. I guess your own personal uh, your own personal drive within self, your own hope, is what keeps you going. And I had the willpower to. I knew in my heart and in my mind that the God that I served would not allow me to do life. So when they told me I was a lifer, I didn't believe it. I couldn't, because I didn't never hurt anybody. I didn't ever kill anybody. So in my mind, I wasn't going to be here. And I didn't consider myself a lifer. I always thought my Father in heaven, our Father in heaven, will allow me to be out. So I just always kept that hope. And then I knew that I didn't like gangs or being around violence, so I stayed away from that. I carried a book and a Bible. And I always try to find good spots to go and read and just stay away from the drama and the politics of prison life. And because of that, I survived. I survived the worst of the worst places. I was at Pelican Bay. I was at Corcoran. I was at Centinela, High Desert. These places thrive with violence. It's like a cesspool of founders. It's like dead end people going to a dead end. And it was nothing. And I still found hope, and I still made it because I believed in myself, and I gave myself a chance to grow and to break through that. And I did it, and I got out, and I still didn't believe it when I was out. It took a while for me to adjust back to society.
Question: how did contact from family and friends through correspondence, letters, and visits and pictures help you get through this?
After the first 6, 7, 8 years, somewhere around there, all letters stopped. Contact stopped. There was no phone calls. There was nothing. I had no visits. So to say that, how did that change? The first 5 or 6 years, I was still numb under a 25 to life sentence. So at the end, my sister Alberta contacted me and told me about this new proposition coming out. And she said that she's going to fight to try to get me released because I was a nonviolent offender. She contacted the Santa Clara County Mercury News, and through them, they put an ad out. And the ad, I guess, people started seeing this guy's in prison, never had any violence. He was in for a piece of plastic credit card doing a life sentence. They fought for me, and she put my name out there on radio stations, Mercury newspaper, everything. And finally, eventually, this proposition came out. And, you know, like I said, the Proposition 36 came out. It helped low-level drug offenders, low-level property offenders, and people serving a life sentence for a petty-ass offense. It got us out, pretty much.
And did a firm play any role in getting you released?
One day, I got a letter from a law firm in San Francisco. And they contacted me because they said they found me on the internet. And they said that as a California 3 striker, I was found on the internet. And I wrote them back and I said, what's the internet? They came back and said it's social media. It's a thing that it's on computers. And I still didn't understand it because I never really got on a computer. So I was kind of like writing them back and forth for 2 months, not really wanting to get out, no interest. And until one day, they called me to visiting. and I ain't had a visit in a long time. And there was a tall white man and a little short elderly black lady. They were from that law firm, and they came and visited me, and they told me at visiting, we are here to tell you, after looking up your prison record, after looking up your criminal record, you have no violence, no sex offenses, no weapons possessions, and no sex crimes. You meet the criteria to be released under Proposition 36 because you're a total nonviolent offender. And your case, your current third strike is petty and nonviolent. We can gain you release. We're going to guarantee your release. And so because of that, I allowed them to fight my case and put it back to the courts for hearing. And I was eventually released. And they were right.
What was the name of that firm, if you can recall?
I can't recall the name of the firm, but it's in San Francisco.
And what would you like to say to that firm that helped you out?
During one of the letters that they wrote me, they said that we would like to have this experience of releasing a California 3 striker because we don't have that. And at that time, I didn't know what kind of experience they wanted. They're lawyers, they know the law. They wanted that experience because there's certain things in law, laws pass, things change. They have points, like in cases, there's points of authority, how certain cases were overturned. They wanted that type of experience of arguing a point and getting somebody relief so they could have that experience. And I guess now I understand a little bit about law, that law firm wanted that experience of getting a lifer out of California State Prison release on new changes in law and arguing those points to gain this person relief. And I'd like to thank them for taking the time to really help a human being. Yeah.
That's great. How did not having family support for such a long stretch of time, 12 years, affect you?
I don't know how it affected me, but I do know I became my own family. I cared for myself. I was there for me. I never gave up hope on myself. I became my own family. There were some voids and there were some hurts and I felt some emptiness, but I always believed in me and I never gave up. And there was a saying, if you're not in control of your life is out of control. I was always in control of my life because I believed in me and I stayed focused on me and doing what was right. I didn't get caught up in the bullshit. I didn't get caught up in the politics of prison life and things and doing things wrong. So I always believed in myself and therefore I didn't rely on nothing. But let it be known that God had a big role because without God in my life, I don't know where I'd be because I prayed and I can't say I did it alone. God was there always in my life. My thoughts and everything were rooted on God. God's guidance for me and will. And I always asked for strength and guidance and protection. And God was there throughout the whole time holding me. Something like that poem, Footprints in the Sand. Mm-hmm. When the guy looks back, when he was going through troubling times and he asked God, where were you? Why are you? The whole time, when he looked back, there was one set of foot. He was being held by God, walking through sand. That was a beautiful poem, and it kind of resembles of what happened to me. The whole time I was in there, but I didn't disbelieve. I believed that God was holding me protected. So God was there for me.
And after you were released from incarceration after 18 years, what kind of relationship did you have with your family?
Beautiful. My nieces are all grown up. They cooked for me. They took care of me. My nephews were grown up. They helped me out there adjust back. They were there. They wanted to help me. They loved me. They cared about me.
I think that's wonderful.
Yeah.
Really
family is very important in somebody's life.
So what would you say to a young person that think it's okay to commit a crime because it's only a petty crime?
I can say for a fact, all the times that I've been in and out of jail, prisons, the crime does not pay. You may think you can get away with something. You may think you're slick. You may think that there's certain things that You know you can beat the law, but morally you'd be wrong. And eventually, what you exert back in society, you're going to get back. So if you do wrong, best believe somehow wrong's going to find its way back to you.
And what plans do you have for the future?
I just, I'm not pessimistic. I live day to day, moment to moment. I'm not optimistic either. I just take the moment. I live each day for the moment. And I know that each moment is precious because life is not guaranteed to us. We could be snatched from life at any moment. So I live for the moment. And I can't foresee the future, know what it is, or predict it. I could just live for the moment and believe in myself and know that there's a better future because I care about myself enough to want to do right in life and be positive, and that's all I could say on that.
Well, thank you, Harold. Hopefully, something that was said in your story will save someone else from making similar mistakes. And we pray that you have the, the, the opportunity to get back out there with your family once again and to be a productive, positive part of society after being incarcerated for so long.
Oh, thank you, man.